Welcome to Her Imprint, part of the Impressions Exchange. I'm Denise Gustafson, your host. This podcast celebrates the remarkable women who are transforming the printing industry. We'll explore their journeys, from challenges to triumphs, and share the stories that leave a lasting imprint. Today, I have with me Kristen Morales. She's the project manager with the University of Texas at Austin Document Solutions. So, Kristen, welcome.
Thank you.
To get us started, can you tell me a little bit about what you do at the University of Texas and what's involved with the implant there?
I'm a project manager at the University of Texas at Austin. We are an implant. We have about 50 employees. I manage all the customer service staff. I also manage our press room schedule and our press room teammates. And I'm pretty much the plant coordinator for production. We don't have a typical production manager, but I've assumed that role on top of my role. It was one of the things that came into place when I got my title as project manager. I handle a lot of the top major accounts. I do development and admissions and the top accounts that we have. And then we do a lot of state agency work as well. So we do UT work and state agency work. And the state agency work, we have to bid out for it. So we don't get it automatically. It is something that they send through the portal and we have to bid through it. Unless they know that it's going to be under a certain dollar amount, then they can send it to us because they have smaller projects that they can just send to us. But if it's over a certain dollar amount, they have to send it out for bid. And there's 5 different state agencies that we compete against. And so that's how all of our work comes in. It's really just the UT work by the departments and the state agencies. And we have about 5 customer service reps that manages all of those accounts.
Okay. That certainly keeps you busy.
Yes, all day.
All day, every day.
Yes, all day, every day.
How long have you been in this position as project manager?
I started in this position 2 years ago.
Okay.
And then I was the senior administrative program coordinator. And then I came on as a printing service representative. And when I came on, I just did offset work. They had it separated out so that there was a team that did offset, there was a team that did digital, there was a team that did mail. And one day during COVID, we had a person give their resignation and they decided to move on to another career. And I happened to say I was bored.
Oh, that's a dangerous thing.
And I probably shouldn't have said that. Honestly, it's been a blessing to me because I've learned so much. I now do offset digital, and sometimes I'm in a little bit of the Y format area, but we have a team that does Y format. I usually do offset and digital, and I was doing variable data for a little while and merging and producing all of that stuff. But now we have a person in our digital area that has taken that off my plate, thank God.
That's good.
So I can focus more on getting more customers in and serving them and helping them with paper and helping them with print specs and helping their project get out the door versus me doing all of the operational work and not being able to really focus on what their actual needs are, which is making sure their product is what they need.
So I have a question. So how did you get started? Was this implant job, or was that the first time you got into print, or had you done print before this?
I'm a graduate of Clemson. So I went to Clemson University, graduated in 2009. My first major was computer science. When I was growing up, my mom and everybody had me coming over to fix their TV, coming over to fix their computer, coming over there fixing everything. And I'm just like, really? But I was the fixer of all the electronic things. So I said, I'm going to school for computer science and I'm going to do computer programming. My dream job at that time was working for Google or Apple. And that's what I was going to do. I took 2 computer programming classes and I was like, this is not for me. One of them, the first one I did really well in. And then the second one, it was a lot harder. And I just could not see myself really doing that for the rest of my life. Plus, I hated calculus. I hate math.
That kind of limits you in terms of computer programming and that side of things.
Exactly. And so then I had a friend that was in the same major as me at the time, and she had decided that she was going to change her major as well. And she knew what she was going to change for me. She said, I know, I think I'm going to go to graphic communication. And I'm like, I don't even know what that is. She was like, you should try it. Maybe take the first class and see what you think. And I said, okay. So they had a program for graphic communication, which is printing and graphic design. And you learned everything from offset printing, flexo printing, screen printing, variable data. You created your own website. You created a store where you had to create a box and how to sell that stuff. And they had us printing on actual printing presses there.
Which is awesome.
Yes. So you were running a screen printing press and making your own mesh screen, like the mesh screen printing. They had you do everything. And the first class I took, I was like, I like this. This is fun. Because I was down, I'm a creative person. And to this day, I am a creative person. I have a Cricut now. And I like doing crafts and hobbies like that. And the first class, I was like, I could do this. I think I can do this. And I went through the whole, it took me 4.5 years. Took me 4 years. So that the first half a year was the computer science part. But it took me 4 years to do it. They made us do 2 internships during the year. So you had to go, and one of them had to be during a semester. So you had to take a full semester off just to do an internship. And their thing was when you graduated, you had a job. Like we had intern employer day at the end, and you were pretty much guaranteed a job within the first 6 months of being out of school.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And not many people, not many degrees have that. And I was like, this is impressive. And so I graduated, and my first job was in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina,
Okay.
which I worked, it was a small printing company, and I was a customer service rep there. And I helped with their customer service and their promotional products that they had. And then time went by, and we had somebody leave, and then I got into their bulk mail. Somehow I always end up getting, if I say, if I look like I'm bored or I say I'm bored, I get a new task to learn, which to me, I think about it, I'm like, I really shouldn't be saying this because I just add more work to myself. But at the same time, I like learning new things. And I don't like routine. I don't like going to work knowing what I'm going to do every day. I like the change and the...
And it's the challenge.
Yeah.
There are some days it's probably not fun
Yeah,
when you have 15 things all coming at you all at once.
exactly.
But at the same time, you also know that it's not going to happen tomorrow, most likely.
Exactly. 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 Every day is a new day. So I always tell people, I take it one day at a time. So that was my first job. And then I met my husband in Myrtle Beach. He's actually from Texas. And he said, you know what? I want to move back home. And I was like, okay. I had never been that far from my family before. I grew up in South Carolina. That was all I knew. We took trips to different states, but I had only lived in South Carolina. And so when he said, let's move to Texas, I was like, this seems very scary to me. Yes. So I got a job in Texas, which is what moved us here. Because he was like, you're probably going to get a job faster than I am. So I did. And I worked at a company in Texas for 2 years. And then one of my customers there, he was my customer. And he called me up and said, hey, I have a job opening at the University of Texas. Would you like to come over here? And I was like, oh, okay, let's talk more about this. And I was just like, I didn't know because I was like, I don't want to be the person that like moves from job to job. But I was like, maybe this could be a good opportunity for me. It's smaller. I could have some kind of work-life balance probably versus where I was. And I've been there for 6 years. And I'm happy. For the most part, I'm happy. I love my customers. I love what I do. Yeah.
So you fell into printing in college,
Yeah.
almost accidentally.
Yep. I probably would have never done print. I would have never thought about doing printing.
It wasn't
No.
something that even crossed your mind until a
No.
friend of yours said, hey, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't even know they even offered it. I'm not gonna lie.
Fair.
Yeah.
You've now seen a lot. You were at Clemson, now you're at a couple different print companies. One of the things you've probably noticed is that it tends to be a lot of guys that are in these print companies.
Yeah.
In your time since you've graduated, have you seen a difference in terms of maybe gender equality since you've started?
I have. During my internships and even after college, at all of my jobs, there was not a woman leader.
Mm-hmm.
It was a male leader. This industry is a male dominating role. That's the norm. And most women that you saw at those printing companies, they were in admin, like customer service, payroll, billing. They were,
Secretary,
yeah,
receptionist.
things like that. They're not at the leader role. And they didn't seem like they had a desire to be at that role. At my first job, we had a woman that was running a press, and I was shocked. And I was like, this is odd. Because even then, I was like, most men are running presses. You don't have women running a press. But she was a woman running a press, and she knew how to run it, and she ran it well. And she was happy with her job. She loved it. She didn't want to do anything else. You see the change that it was mostly male. And now that I've gone to like conferences and things around where, and you do see a lot more women in those leadership roles, but at the same time, it seems like they're working hard for it. They're really hustling to get to that leadership role. It wasn't a normal thing, and it's not normal for them to be there. And so it just seems like it's a lot harder for a woman to get there.
And then you layer on top, there's also women of color as well.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
probably another layer on top of that.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, my I normally at the past jobs I've been, I've literally been the only black person at my job,
Mm-hmm.
and a woman at that. And it's hard to see that because I'm like, where's the culture? Like, how am I supposed to talk to other women if they don't look like me or see like me or things like that? And you have to learn to adjust. I've made friendships with people of color and of not. And it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to have those conversations. Like I said, I have an employee now that she's been my friend for years. And it's nice having her at work with me now because I can talk to her about things and not feel like I'm saying the wrong things or hurting somebody's feelings. And she understands why I'm frustrated and when I get frustrated. And it's nice to just have that balance. Because
Mm-hmm.
when you don't have that balance of somebody not being like you or they have different things, so they can't understand what and how you see it and why you see it that way. So it's hard being in a situation like that.
It's a different background, a different experience that you come with, that
Yeah,
sometimes some people just have no idea of how different it can be.
yeah, exactly.
How can we change that?
I think we shouldn't normalize it. We shouldn't normalize that you have to be a certain woman of, first of all, you shouldn't have to be a certain age. You shouldn't have to be a woman of color. You shouldn't have to be a white. You should be able to normalize that women are in this role. And I think one of the things that helps and motivate other women to even do this, guys, is you start them out at a young age. Like when I was in school, we didn't have a print shop in our school or something like hands on to teach like women, to encourage women to be in a role like this
Mm-hmm.
or to be even a leader. Like you're in home ec or you're being taught to be at home, a stay at home mom sitting at home with the kids, cooking food for your husband. That's what you're taught. Or to be in beauty school or things like that. You're not taught to be in a leadership role, really. And that's what I didn't like about in growing up in my high school because they didn't teach those things.
Mm-hmm.
And not all schools do. And I feel if you start young, like in middle school and high school, and have those kind of programs where you're teaching women, especially women, and encouraging them and motivating them, engaging them into being a leader and teaching them how to the tactics and things like that, I think we'll be able to see that change and you'll see more women dominating in these industries where they're not anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting because thinking back My junior high school, we had home ec
Yeah.
where I learned how to sew, I learned how to bake and cook
Mm-hmm.
and do some things.
Yeah.
But we also had a technology class, and that was actually one of the required things we had to do. We had a one color press in there.
Oh, wow.
And we had engraving tools. I made nameplates and I made all these things. I made printed pads. I learned how to set type, but it was required for everybody to be able to do,
Yeah.
which was really cool to be able to actually get hands on.
Yeah.
I'm a woman. I also like knowing how things work. So for me, perfect.
Yeah.
There's other people, men and women, that were in those classes that were like, yeah, that's not for me.
Yeah.
I don't want to get my hands dirty. It's not, no,
Mm-hmm.
it's not for me. And that's fine.
Yeah.
I was at least um, offered the opportunity to learn about that, which I think
Exactly.
is lacking. As you're saying, it's lacking in a lot of schools
Mm-hmm.
across the board. I don't know if it's partially there's the equipment itself, there's a cost involved.
Yeah.
Then are there teachers that can actually teach that?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, because you don't have a lot of teachers. I went back to Clemson just a while back for homecoming, and they were like, it's hard to get a professor to come in here and teach. But all the professors that we had, they were older. They
Mm-hmm.
were old staff, and they were about to retire. I think some of them were probably there for another 5 or 6 years after I graduated. And when I went back, I didn't even know the people that were there, and they were young, and they were like, "Oh yeah, like it's been hard to find somebody to come in here and teach the students on what to do and how to do these things, and you just don't have people that want to do it." And because I don't think they really make it as fun either.
Yeah. And then part of me worries too is where is that institutional knowledge going?
Exactly.
People are leaving, whether it's in the field, those generations are retiring.
Yep.
As a professors, they're retiring. Where is that knowledge going? Have we been capturing that to teach some of those younger generations how to do some of the things on offset presses or flexo presses that are very unique?
Yeah. And I don't think we are. Just recently, we had one of our leaders leave, and he knew so much stuff. He was like, "I can't teach you all of this stuff before I retire." That is over 25 years of knowledge,
Oof.
and it's hard to teach somebody something that you've either taught yourself how to do,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't really know how to teach somebody else how to do it, or it's something that you just stumbled upon.
You're kind of going by the seat of your pants in some ways.
Yes. Yeah. Nobody's that knowledge that people are leaving behind. It's sad because there's things people ask me, and I'm like, I can't tell you what he knew in his head. There's stuff all over there, and they might have
Yeah.
done it differently. And I'm like, maybe we should try it this way because that's the only way it's gonna change. Is if you come up with and try
Mm-hmm.
to do it some other way. That's the only way you're gonna learn. And I think that's how it's always been for the older generation. That's what they did. They
Yeah.
just learned it and kept it up there. But that was also job security for a lot of people too.
I
Like
could
if
imagine.
they
Yeah,
knew it,
definitely.
if they knew it and somebody else didn't know it, then how could they get fired?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
why would I share my knowledge with you? Kind
But
of,
at the same time, then what happens to the next generations
yeah.
that are coming in? And at this point, it's a couple times removed. We could
Mhm.
be 2 generations past where some of that knowledge was and where it lived.
Yeah.
So, in terms of promotions and opportunities, obviously you've had a number of them. Have you ever felt passed over for one of those promotions that you feel you have the skills for, that you qualified for? And how do you navigate things like that?
Yeah. I have to say, I have had opportunities to be in another position and I felt like I was qualified. And honestly, it's devastating to find out that you're not, especially when you have coworkers and mentors and people that are supporting you and encouraging you to step up and go to those. And they think that you've got a shot at it. And then you find out that the person in charge of that doesn't believe in you. The thing that came out was, you're young, you have to wait your turn, it'll come. And I'm like, how old do I have to be?
Mm-hmm.
Like, at what point do I get taken seriously, kind of thing? And it's devastating to find out that you don't have somebody in your corner, like your coworkers and your mentor, they're in your corner, but then the person that's hiring, they don't see what everybody else sees. And then you find out they don't even read your resume. That's another thing. Like, they don't see your resume, but they're going off of whatever. And one of the things I had to learn was I just convinced myself that there's a reason why I'm in this place, and there's a reason and a time, and God has me in this place for a reason.
Mhm.
And when it's time for me to be that leader, or if it's time to be in that position, he will make it, he will make it known, and he will find a way, and then that will be my blessing. But until then, I have to sit back, learn, listen, and do as I'm told, to a point where I still want to be heard as well. I'm not just going to be somebody that you're just going to walk over, but I also want to be able to share what I know, and also learn from that too, and grow, because that's the only way you're going to be able to do it. And hopefully one day you see yourself in a bigger position.
That's a great attitude to have. And I think it's a very hard thing to cultivate too,
Yeah.
because like you said, it's devastating. And
Yeah.
now we have these roadblocks where you're a woman of color, and
Yeah.
now you're being told you're too young. So now
Yeah.
you're dealing with ageism in a way that you maybe never thought you might.
Yeah. Somebody once told me, you don't look your age. And I'm like, how old am I supposed to look? You can't say that.
Mm-hmm.
But you also, in a world, you can't really ask people how they are either.
Very true.
You shouldn't take somebody's age and their gender, and you shouldn't make those the top things of why you shouldn't hire somebody. It should be by what they do and what they know and their resume. That's it.
You don't know where they may have learned. Somebody might have grown up in printing
Yeah.
or grown up and know how to do these things because they've done them for so long. But just because they're younger doesn't necessarily mean they don't have some measure of experience.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you cultivate that kind of attitude that, okay, it'll come and still be positive even though you've gotten that no?
Yeah. I think for me and for anybody, I just want people to know their worth. You should never let somebody define who you are. And if it's a no, you have to say it's a no because it's their no. Doesn't mean it has to be your no. Doesn't mean you have to shrink yourself down to make it comfortable for somebody else. You still should rise above and be the person that you know you are. Be your true self, because it's not about them. And most of the people won't be there when you get to the top.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be that person to encourage and motivate yourself, and to tell yourself, even though it's not my time, doesn't mean that it's not possible for you.
Or it'll never be my time.
Yes, exactly.
Now, you mentioned something earlier talking about allies within the department, mentors that you've also had. How important was having both of those groups of people for you as you're moving through this journey?
It helped a lot. My mentor, and it was a person that I never thought would be my mentor. They got hired, and I was like, we're not going to get along. No. Absolutely not. And it happened to be my old boss that he's retired now, and he's doing good things. But one day he came back from some event, and they had some talk about succession plans. And I'm sitting at the office, and I think of myself as being a leader, and I think of myself of being not sitting in this role for the rest of my life, because at that time I was just doing customer service and just doing payroll. I was not in a leadership role at that time. And he comes back and he says, I see a lot of potential in you, and I think you are worth the time to help you step up, to train, to be the person that I know you can be. Basically, he said, are you in or you out? That was the question.
Interesting.
He was very blunt. He was a very blunt person. Are you in or you're out? And he already knew the answer, because she's been here forever. The girl's probably in, and I don't really know why I'm even asking this question. And I said, yeah, I am. And he took the time to train. There were some things where I'd be like, if I had a situation, he'd be like, you can't say it like that. You cannot say it like, and I'm like, why? They just talk to me like this. You can't say it like that. And that used to make me so mad. But it was a good thing he said it, because if I did say it, I probably would have lost my job and I wouldn't be where I am today. So
Mhm.
sometimes I just have to ball it up in and say, that person is not going to get the best of me today. And I'm going to do my job. How does that feel?
And that's sometimes really hard to do when you
Yeah.
want to say something that's on
Yeah.
your mind.
Yes, exactly. And just having those people there to support you and be that shining light at the end and be the positivity when it's so easy to go negative and it's so easy to go to a dark place and not feel like you're worth it and not feel like you're got it all and know it all. But to have somebody come back and tell you you have it makes a difference. It really makes a difference. I went to an event the other 1 year and a woman didn't even know me, and her husband actually was a director at a printing company. And she was just there because she was working. She said, I work from home, so I don't know anything about this. But it was awards night, so I had to go on stage and collect awards for us. And so she came up to me at the end and she said, girl, you really own that stage. You went up there very confidently and you went up there and got those awards. You were a shining light. I love seeing that. She said, you don't see women of color be like that, have that confidence. And you don't see a lot of people, a lot of women in this role, in a leadership role, going up there and getting those awards. She said, I'm very proud of you. And to have somebody that I did not know tell me that, she could have just said nothing. Yeah. She could have come up to me and said something bad, because there's always people that's gonna bring you bad. They don't know you and they don't care what comes out of their say. They just say, I'm gonna be negative today. Let's see what I how I can get a rise out of this.
Mhm.
But she was like, no, I had to say it because you don't see it enough. That really, every day I think about that when I'm in my negativity. Sometimes I think about, I have this. I got this. I don't have to have everybody's approval. As long as I have my approval and my support system, I'm okay. That's all I need.
And I think one thing we need to remember is words matter.
Yeah.
So in that instance, she didn't have to say anything, but she said something.
Yeah.
And she touched you in a way that you're going to remember now for a very long time.
Exactly. Yeah.
So then that goes to all of us too. What are we saying to the folks that we're working with?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what gender they are. How are we interacting with people? How do we make them feel?
Exactly.
It just reminds us to, in some ways, to make sure that we are being those positive influences
Yeah.
as much as we can. Obviously, if something's going wrong, you have to point out the things that are wrong because you need to get them corrected. But how do you do it? How do your words make them feel? Because that's honestly what they're going to remember in the long run.
Exactly.
When we started, you mentioned also about that through all the different jobs that you had, that you noticed that there was not a lot of women in those leadership roles. Why do you feel it's important to have women in those roles, especially when you're starting out?
To me, it brings a sense of belonging. Like you belong there. I feel like most women, they are there to encourage and empower you. And you don't always get that from men. Most of the time, men don't even know what to say to you because they're just like, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to encourage you. I just don't know what to say. I mean,
We
they just,
communicate differently.
yeah. And you see so many women we bring each other up. Now you do have some of those people that want to see you fail, but those are people, bad people. But for
Or they're
the most
jealous
part,
of
yeah,
the success that you've had.
exactly. But for the most part, I feel like women do a very good job at encouraging one another and helping other people. They help other women grow and empower them to do more, to want more, to strive for more, and to be who they have the potential to be.
Mm-hmm.
And you're always going to see that level of they care like about you. And not to say that men don't care about you. It's a different vibe,
Mm-hmm.
different level of care. And they want to see you succeed. We don't have a lot of women in anything in a lot of industries sometimes, and you feel like I'm the only woman here. I'm not going to get the respect I deserve. I'm not going to get this. I'm not going to get that. But if you're under a leadership of a woman or have that same type of interaction with other women coworkers, you get that. You get the sense of belonging and like they help with your worth
Mm-hmm.
and define. Yeah.
Definitely. So, as we're wrapping up, this is probably my favorite question. I ask it to everybody. So, knowing what you know now, based on your history, going through starting at Clemson, all the different jobs you've had, interns, paid, whatever the positions were, if you were starting now, you're brand new, all kinds of sparkly, what advice would you give yourself if you were entering the world of print?
Knowing what I know now,
Knowing what you know now.
never give up on yourself and never take things for granted. It's going to be hard work and you're going to have a lot of people not rooting for you, but you matter. Representation matters. Um, Everything that you do matters. And I would tell myself, this is your time. This is what you need to do. And you will see your blessing after this in the long run.
Awesome. Kristen, thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with me today. I really appreciate it, and I loved chatting with you.
You too.
Thank you for joining us on this journey to celebrate and amplify the voices of women in the printing industry. If you have a story to share or know someone whose journey deserves to be highlighted, we'd love to hear from you. Together, let's continue inspiring and empowering the next generation of leaders. Until next time, keep leaving your imprint. This is Her Imprint. See you soon.